Let's get you that markets update now. The JSE paired earlier the losses yesterday. The focus now is on key inflation data in the United States this week as investors assess the future direction of monetary policy. The head of equity research at FNB Wealth and Investments is Chantal Marx. She joins us now to give us a sense of how the markets are performing in early trade. Chantal, good morning to you. Let's begin with the quick overview of how the local markets are faring in early trade after a somewhat muted trade yesterday.
Yes, we finally have something to smile about. Today has been a pretty good start. We've seen a pretty good start so far, following on from generally stronger international markets. The thinking at the moment is that the Chinese government will probably step in and continue to step in and ramping up stimulus measures. And this in turn will likely support its economic growth efforts as its recovery post-COVID or the COVID reopening has really been a little bit of a disappointment. So that idea that the Chinese government will provide support really pushing markets higher this morning.
Let's talk commodity prices. They've also been seeking out some new direction. Any worthwhile developments there?
Yes, so we've seen some really nice support for commodity prices generally this morning. And again, that's just a function of the expectation that we could see growth in China ramp up a little bit. China is probably the largest consumer of most commodities globally, and the expectation for growth in commodity demand really rests on China's economic well-being. So the fact that the expectation is now that there will be additional support for that economy really driving commodity prices higher as well, and we've seen a really nice pop in resources sector shares as well as a result.
Let's talk about the post office, which has collapsed into the arms of business rescue practitioners with a plan that puts some 7,000 jobs on the line, Chantal. This is to save more than 1.3 billion in annual salaries. What do we know about these developments?
So we don't really know much yet. What we do know is that a few of the post office's creditors actually approached the courts to have the post office liquidated because they weren't being paid. And now the post office has been placed into business rescue, which is expected to, what business rescue really does is it protects the business from its creditors to the extent that they have time to figure out how this business should be structured and how they should go about paying back their debts. It's probably the best place for the post office right now. They'll get professional business rescue practitioners to step in and see how that business can be restructured and recapitalized to become more sustainable. Government, of course, has also pledged its support for the post office. There's going to be a bailout involved as well, or another bailout rather, probably important to note. But hopefully we will see the post office actually reposition itself into a longer term sustainable entity, and some of those jobs will actually be saved and protected into the future.
Let's conclude the conversation with the paper and packaging group, that's Mondi, which has bought a pulp mill in Canada for 94 million rand to support its paper bags business in the Americas. Let's talk about the specs of this acquisition.
Yes, so it's a pretty small acquisition for Mondi relative to its entire group size. But what they're going to do with that mill is they're actually going to push in a lot more investment in there in order to ramp up capacity and really entrench itself into that America's market, as they call it. So they basically want to own the supply chain, and they want to be they want to have a proper presence across the Americas region, and this Canadian acquisition will help them to achieve that. So just for context, the purchase price is $5 million, but they're going to invest 400 million euros into ramping up capacity over there. They'll be able to get a bigger market share in those paper bags that you actually get your groceries delivered in. That's basically what they're going to be producing there. And of course, the expectation is that will become more popular because of environmental concerns around plastics.
well, seems a positive acquisition indeed. Well, thank you very much for that markets update. Head of Equity Research at FNB Wealth and Investments, Chantal Marx.